I was a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school in 2013, but there is no way I would be a 5-star quarterback today. And the answer is simple. You can probably guess it. Back in 2013, I was a pocket passer. Not a lot of mobility. That ain't flying today. The days of a 6'5" pocket passer just standing tall in the pocket, and that's how a quarterback's supposed to look, and that's the right way to play the position, those days are gone. Just look at the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. You got Lamar Jackson, the dual threat of all dual threats. You got Patrick Mahomes. He's dual threat in his own way, but dual threat. And then you got Josh Allen, also dual threat in his own way. An interesting dude in this conversation is Mac Jones. I think Mac will be the last true pocket passer at the quarterback position that we see go in the first round. And I remember when he got drafted by the Patriots, I remember it kind of being like, ooh, okay, that's a little flashback to old school. That's a dude who's, again, a true pocket passer. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you wouldn't even think anything about it, right? That's what an NFL quarterback looks like. Nowadays, it brings about concern that you don't have the ability to make those off-platform throws. That Pat Mahomes has made so special. That Lamar Jackson has proven that you can protect yourself and play at a high level in the pocket and then also be dual threat. Whether you're Josh Allen and hey, I'm a big body dude. I can run here or there on third down. I can pick up a first down at certain points in the game, but it's not going to get me hurt, knock on wood, and it's not going to be a detriment to my game. That's now how you view the quarterback position. And it's funny, when I go down like the true pocket passers still starting in the NFL, the list is slim. You go Jared Goff, you go Matt Stafford, you go Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr. I put Geno Smith in there. It's the last of a dying breed. The Justin Herbert, Drake May comp is interesting. Where like, you know, you're not talking about Justin Herbert in the dual threat sense that you are a Lamar Jackson, of course, not even Pat Mahomes or Josh Allen, maybe Josh Allen, but like no one's calling him a statue. But I also am not calling him, you know, dual threat. He's in that like new school pocket passer. You know how in recruiting rankings they have like DT dual threat or PP pocket passer? You almost need like an in-between zone there. Like you're not necessarily calling design runs all the time. I guess they do every once in a while for Justin Herbert, but you know what I'm talking about. It's a different breed nowadays for that type of athlete. And we talked about this on a recent video, but Jayden Daniels and pairing him up against Lamar Jackson is a really interesting conversation to have for the topic of this video, because Lamar Jackson slides to the end of the first round 6-7 years ago. It's not that long ago. It's really not that long ago. Versus nowadays, Jayden Daniels is considered a consensus top 10 pick. Many people have him being a top 5 pick. Many people have him being a top 3 pick. He is the number 3 or 2 dude to go. And that's a byproduct of the connotation around a dual threat quarterback in the National Football League has completely changed. And I think Lamar Jackson, 2 dudes have done a ton to change that narrative. The first is Mike Vick, and the second is Lamar Jackson. Mike Vick walked into an NFL where, this is where it all started. Mike Vick walked into an NFL where it was West Coast offense. It was an offense where you needed timing and you needed accuracy and you needed arm strength. Like arm strength was a premium. That's how the quarterback position was played. Mike Vick had all those traits. And then, oh, by the way, he was a dynamic athlete, so he was able to make it work in that more old school West Coast system. But since Mike Vick, it's really evolved. When you look at the guys and how the quarterback position has progressed, since then you've had a Cam Newton, you've had a Colin Kaepernick, you've had a Robert Griffin III, you've had a Johnny Manziel, obviously not necessarily at the NFL level that we hoped, but, you know, splashed onto the scene at the college level and took over the game of football, was the biggest name of football that year. And then the guy that's really interesting, when you really break this down, Russell Wilson is a guy that amongst all those guys that I just mentioned, the Newton, Kaepernick, Griffin, Tebow, Russell Wilson might have had the biggest impact at the NFL level, because I think it forced a lot of general managers to look around and say, wait, why are we evaluating the quarterback like that? Why do we need a 6'5" pocket passer? Like, do we really need that? The quarterback can still get it done at 5'10". And this is where Russell Wilson was even more important than the 5'10" measurable thing, because Drew Brees had done that. You don't absolutely have to be 6'5" to be a successful NFL quarterback. But Russell showed that he could consistently protect himself and not take big hits and still be that dual threat quarterback. He could give you everything you want in the passing game and give you dual threat elements consistently throughout the game and be a headache for defensive coordinators. And then he can protect himself so there's not the injury concern that used to be be front of mind for GMs when drafting a dual threat quarterback a decade ago. Russell Wilson is a guy that's slept on, right? We don't forget about Tebow. We don't forget about RG3. We don't forget about Cam Newton. But Russell Wilson, especially given the measurables, also showed that he could protect himself. And I think that really changed the narrative. But circling that back to the Lamar Jackson, Jayden Daniels element. Nowadays, if Lamar Jackson was walking into the draft, there is no chance he gets outside the top 10. Just in that 6-7 year period, the connotation has changed around a dual threat quarterback. And because Lamar has proven that you can be an elite dual threat quarterback and still be highly productive from the pocket and be an NFL franchise quarterback, that is helping Jayden Daniels' stock right now. Let's be clear. I'm not saying Jayden Daniels is the athlete Lamar Jackson is, but I am saying Jayden Daniels' athleticism is a factor for why he is so highly regarded. If Jayden Daniels flipped spots 6 years ago with Lamar Jackson, I don't think Jayden Daniels is necessarily a first-round quarterback. And it's because of all those guys and the process of the dual threat quarterback that we just talked about. Can't make this video without talking about the rule changes either. Yes, the Russell Wilsons and yes, the Lamar Jackson and Mike Vick, they changed the narrative slowly but surely. But the rule changes also played a big role. The quarterback is just protected more, right? You can't go low on a quarterback. They're very sensitive to the roughing the passer type plays versus 20 years ago. You kind of needed a big guy to stand back there and take the hits because that was a front of mind concern for coaches back there. Nowadays, you're protected by the rule, but it hasn't changed the game. I think that gets over exaggerated sometimes to the degree where, it's night and day different, but it is a factor. And I think when you are between two quarterbacks, one of which being a big time dual threat guy, one of which maybe being a Jayden Daniels that's more slight in frame, the concern that he is skinnier, the changes in the rules I do think matter. Same goes for JJ McCarthy, who's weighing around, 200 pounds. The fact that the rules now protect your quarterback, I think it helps guys that don't necessarily have that 6'5", 230 stature. And the last point you have to mention with this video is how the high school game has changed. That is a key reason why the quarterback position is where it is, because 7-on-7 football has erupted and guys are playing earlier. You're throwing more passes, you're getting exposure to more route concepts, you're reading coverages, and you're having the private quarterback coaches teach you earlier on great mechanics, proper footwork. And I think it allows the kid that, hey, may have been a great athlete, but didn't have the coaching to develop into a great passer. That may have been the case 10, 15 years ago. Nowadays, that's not the case. One, because you're seeing Lamar Jackson and you're seeing Pat Mahomes out there. So the athlete's saying, you know what, I want to play quarterback. And then he looks over and he says, man, I can get that private quarterback coach and I can mold into a great passer earlier on. That wave, I think, is changing the quarterback position. I remember when I was in middle school, this is 2006, 2007, 2008. I had a quarterback coach and I was definitely on the cutting edge of it. It was, it wasn't unheard of, but it was getting to the point where guys 2 grades behind me, that were in elementary school, their dads were oh, when Johnny grows up, he's got to get a private quarterback coach. Max, how'd you do this? So I was kind of right on the rise of it. Now there's private quarterback coaches everywhere, which is good because I think, it's great that the position is developing, but it's not good because that's an expensive investment that a lot of kids just can't afford, and that has become the standard in quarterback play, which, hey, that's just business, that's just life, but that's where the quarterback position is at. But in the spirit of this video, it has allowed your average quarterback and your average athlete to get exposure to high-level quarterback coaching earlier, which then allows these elite athletes to develop into great passers, in addition to turn on their TV screen, and you're seeing more coaches accept dual threat schemes, you're seeing more coaches be willing to run their quarterbacks, and you're seeing it be a necessity for a dual threat quarterback to sometimes cover up the issues of an offense when you don't have necessarily great offensive line play, or maybe you don't have an elite play caller, or when you can rely on an elite athlete at the quarterback position, man, that helps you from an offensive perspective. And so to answer the question, did I deserve to be a 5-star quarterback? Yeah, I'd say so. Earned that right. Put up some numbers. Almost 13,000 yards passing. Almost 160 touchdown passes. We did some work, but that was in a different era. Would I be a 5-star quarterback today? Absolutely no way.